존경하는 내외
Distinguished
귀빈 여러분
guests and ladies and
안녕하십니까.
gentlemen,
제30차
welcome to the 30th Vision Korea National Conference.
환영합니다.
This year, I am
올해는
sending
지구를
you this
벗어나서
greeting from space,
우주에서
not on Earth.
인사를 드리게 됐습니다.
I am not the only one.
저뿐만이 아닙니다.
Richard Branson,
Richard
Jeff
Branson,
Bezos,
Jeff
Elon
Bezos,
Musk, and many
Elon
other
Musk,
big names in
글로벌
tech
경제를
industries
주무르는
are so
빅
much
테크들이
into the
지금
universe
미쳐 있는 것은
that goes beyond gravity.
우주입니다.
Then why is it?
이들은 왜 우주에
Only
갈까요?
one reason.
이유는 하나입니다.
That's because a huge
어마어마한
market
거대
is
시장이
out there.
우주에 있기 때문입니다.
I am standing in the
제가 지금
moon.
서 있는 곳은
Here
파리입니다.
are 1 million tons of
일톤당
helium-3,
50억 가치가
which is
있는
worth $5 billion per ton.
100만 ton 넘게 있습니다.
In terms of
돈으로
money,
환산하면
its worth is about
$5,000
$5,000 trillion or
560
5,600 quadrillion Korean
글로벌
won.
GDP의
That is 57 times bigger than the global GDP.
달에서
The
우주로
energy
물건을
required to
보내는데
send an
필요한
object
에너지는
from the moon to space is only 1/24th or about 4% of the Earth. That is why the
그래서
moon is
달이
important.
중요합니다.
The country
달에
that first
가장 먼저
builds a
기지를
base on the
건설하는
moon
국가가
will take the
화성을
upper
포함해
hand
더
in
먼
space,
우주를
including Mars.
선점할 수 있습니다.
Then let's send a
달에서
rover from the
탐사선을
moon
보내
to the asteroid
화성과
between
목성
Mars
사이에
and
있는
Jupiter.
소행성을 찾아가 볼까요?
This is the 16 Psyche,
이것은 16
with a
사이클입니다.
diameter of 225 km and made entirely of iron and nickel. The asteroid is worth of $10,000 quadrillion or 110,000 times of the total GDP of the planet. It has no owners, and this kind of asteroids are all over space. So any country that mines first will be the owner. It is literally infinite market. Aerospace is not like take it or leave it kind of industry. This is directly linked to the survival of Korea. Communication, mobility, security, climate, and big data see universe as their final destination. Once you sign up the 6G, you can use high-speed internet and telephone all over the world. You don't need to have international calls or roaming. Internet of Things is led by the space internet such as Starlink. In 2030, when the 6G era begins in earnest, the telecommunication market will grow to 800 trillion Korean won. If you don't move now, you won't be able to enter this market. Even the existing domestic market will be taken away. The key to the future security is the universe. For example, for a Korean fighter KFX to play its role, it should be linked to the military satellites we launched. And modern combat power is all about information. Launching our reconnaissance satellites would also help to convert wartime combat control. In the era of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, the global industrial structure is reorganized around big data, and aerospace holds the key to data collection. At the same time, climate change is another crisis that threatens human survival. To respond to that, Earth's observational data is necessary. That is why we see huge growth in the demands for small satellites. The number of small satellites that will be launched in the next 10 years is 6 times as many as those in the last 10 years. As such, space has established itself as a key element of the high-tech industry. The world is already doing its utmost to take over the universe. On the contrary, Korea's aerospace industry is stagnating. If the technology of the United States is 100, Korea is 60. If left unattended, there is no future for Korea. The market size of Korea's aerospace was 7 trillion won last year. That is smaller than the sales of the mid-sized business and only 3% of sales of Samsung Electronics. Let's imagine a very interesting future here. Currently, the global market share of Korea's aerospace is 0.8%, but let's say it will be grown to 7.6%, equivalent to that of automobile industry. Then, it will generate 462,400 jobs directly and 534,300 jobs in total combined with indirect employment. That means the aerospace industry could be a breakthrough in the 2030 employment cliff. The more advanced the technology, the more human hands are needed. Fighters, rockets, and spaceships are handmade. The budget for KFX production is 8 trillion won. More than 11,000 people have been employed so far. By 2028, the employment-inducing effect reaches 110,000 people. Aviation and space are indeed using the same technologies. The aviation powerhouse equals to the space powerhouse. Therefore, the success of KFX can be an important stepping stone for Korea to become an aerospace powerhouse. You won't be able to grow this industry overnight. And you don't need to launch satellites, neither spaceship, to be powerful in this industry. Korea is competitive in automobile industry, and UAM is a flying car in the sky. Korea's competitiveness in the existing aviation industry is only 1/4 of the world. However, Korea is strong in car manufacturing, and we can shape the future aviation market, which will be led by UAM. If we seize the global UAM market, which is expected to be $1.5 trillion in 2040, it will create 550,000 high-paying jobs. The role of government is important to become the first mover in the market. The same is true for UAM. The government must lead the way. The UK, an aerospace powerhouse, is also making prominence in UAM. More than 250 global companies are competing to beat the UAM market. In this industry, it is essential for the government to make active intervention. To help domestic UAM industry make an early settlement, the UK implements Future Flight Challenge. The local mobility company named Urban Airport will build the world's first UAM-only space Air One. Hyundai Motor Group is their main partner to participate in UAM prototype and infrastructure development. Its budget is 300 billion pounds, and 60% of them comes from private sector and 40% from the central government and Future Industry Strategic Fund. So it is noteworthy that private and public join their forces to build the UAM infrastructure. To open the UAM market to the fullest, a comprehensive ecosystem needs to be laid out, including aircraft development, operation, and services. Therefore, it requires organic cooperation between companies and government. In the space sector, as private companies start pioneering the market, we are ushering in a new era of a new space age. Although the private sector takes the leading role, Korea still needs the role of the government. If there are 3 stages in the space industry, Korea is at the first stage. And the only country where private companies are making money in space is the United States. Before making a soft landing in the new space era, Korea seems to have K-space strategy, which means the state and private sector work together to grow the industry. Korea has plans such as the lunar landing in 2030, asteroid exploration in 2035, and they are a part of a basic plan for promotion of space development, but it's not enough. Space exploration needs to be pursued more aggressively. There is a country jumping into the space later than Korea, but successfully nurturing the industry jointly with the state and private sector. That is Luxembourg. Let's watch their story. Luxembourg, an emerging space power, opened the space agency in 2018 to create an ecosystem for the space industry. Its main role is to discover, attract, and invest in the space-related companies for them to take root in the country. To this end, a total of 300 million euros of funding have been implemented to support various accelerators and incubating programs to secure qualified personnel and R&D. Moreover, the government serves as a public relations ambassador to directly promote their own companies at global exhibitions. Thanks to these efforts, Luxembourg has attracted about 40 space companies from the world, including Korea's space startup Contact, and the total GDP share of private space has expanded to about 2%. Despite being a latecomer in space development, it was possible for this country to secure the capacity to participate in Armides project in a short period of time because such efforts were supported by the government. Korea is trapped in gravity. It is stuck in an invisible loop. Whenever the regime changes, policies changes as well. There is no money in the industrial ecosystem, and infrastructure is outdated, and the younger generation does not dream of space. To make a new leap forward, Maeil Business News suggested a strategy of LIFT, LIFT. L stands for leadership. Make a Korean-style NASA. For the first head of the agency, invite an expert who experienced academia and private sector. Indeed, the director of the Australian Space Agency is a former CEO of Virgin Galactic. And President, please take the position of the chairman of the National Commission on Space. It will be the birthplace of Korean-style NASA. Based on the advices of experts, Maeil draws the organizational chart of the agency. It should be as efficient as possible. The Apollo project of the states was made possible because of the bipartisan support and cooperation of the political circle, and this tradition continues today. We can do it too. The Aerospace Special Committee must be formed in the National Assembly to implement a consistent policy. Their first job is to increase the R&D budget. The total R&D will reach 100 trillion Korean won in 10 years. And during the course of the time, 5% of them, or 5 trillion won, should go to the aerospace every year. Still, it is only a tenth of the level of the United States. The rest can be covered by smart operation. Next is I, innovation. Korea has a long way to go. The answer lies in innovation. The heart of mobility is the engine. There's nothing like nuclear power as an engine that flies far into the space. When it comes to nuclear technology, Korea is the best, and we can seize the chance here. We can make another miracle in space as we did in battery, because satellites and UAMs eventually are powered by batteries and dominate your niche through technological innovation, let alone space scavengers featured in film Space Sweepers. New businesses such as Space Career, Space Billboards, and Space Farmer will appear one after another. When it comes to new businesses, first mover will take the lead. NASA's Artemis program to send humanity to the moon once again, Korea should take part in. Then, innovation will gather steam and momentum. The third is F, which represents fundamental. Strengthen the space education program at the Air Force Academy. We also need an aerospace science high school to nurture talents. Look 10 or 20 years ahead into the future and invest in aerospace competent youth. Soon, we are able to make money out of space. The stock prices of 7 aerospace companies listed on the Korean stock market, including KARI, have soared 70% since the second half of last year. Overseas space companies are hitting jackpots as well. And Korea should also bring private funds to space exploration, because the government budget is limited. Just as NASA raised SpaceX, the Korean government should grow star ventures with space finance. With the Korean American Scientists and Engineers Association, we can build a venture base in Silicon Valley. Cities of Gohung, Seosan, Daejeon, and Sacheon
사천을 잇는
should be linked
대한민국
as a K
항공우주
launchpad zone, a Korean aerospace platform.
로켓
It
발사,
will be a growth platform that encompasses rocket launch, UAM testing, R&D, and manufacturing. We checked how many regulations Korean startups should go through when testing launchers in Korea. It takes a full 3 years. The K launchpad zone should be a regulatory sandbox that can break this. And T for trigger.
really distinguish because of your tremendous technical accomplishments and your understanding of engineering and space science. It's so possible for you to do great things in this area. And
you do not want to say to some of the brightest young Koreans, hey, if you want to be a space explorer, go live in the United States. Mm-hmm. You don't want to say that to them.
When Europe finally discovered, even though they didn't discover it, they went to the New World. It was an economic boom for Europe.
Yeah.
And the moon is the next new world.
You have a great country and great population that are very inspired.
Is there still a possibility left for South Korea to join again the Artemis plan?
Yes, absolutely.
It seems that everyone is looking forward for Korea to make more efforts. Korea has to pull the trigger towards Mars right now. Let's go to Mars by 2033. The governments and the private sector should go there together and hurry up on project to send the civilian rovers to asteroids. Spot is walking towards me right now. Spot, coming from Yonsei University, is a robot dog developed by Boston Dynamics, which is acquired by Hyundai Motor Company. Spot, sit. Attention. Salute. Please give a big hand. NASA is working on this dog to send to Mars. Korea can do it. While trying to overcome gravity, you will experience many failures and tears. Maybe you will be scolded for being reckless. We are trying it not because it's easy, but because it's difficult. Elon Musk said he started SpaceX with anticipation of failure. This year marks the first year of Beyond Gravity, when the Korean aerospace industry takes on a full-fledged challenge. Now is the time to make up our minds and act out. Let's shake off the feeling of being too late. Beyond Gravity, the solution is a lift. Let's go beyond gravity. Thank you.